Have you ever felt stuck in a version of yourself that no longer feels true? Maybe life has placed you into roles or routines that don't reflect who you are deep inside. What if you could step away, not to escape, but to transform, and return as someone entirely new? The Stoics teach us that true change begins inward. It's not about running away or changing your environment, but about challenging your mindset, beliefs, and habits. This isn't an easy journey. It requires honesty, courage, and patience. But the reward is profound. The opportunity to rediscover your authentic self and reimagine your potential. In this video, we'll explore how to disappear and come back unrecognizable, following the timeless wisdom of the Stoics. You'll learn how to retreat inward to find clarity. Let go of limiting beliefs and fears, build resilience through challenges, emerge transformed with a sense of purpose and authenticity. This is more than self-improvement, it's self-mastery. The power to change lies within you. Are you ready to begin? Number 1. Independence of thought. Have you ever noticed how much of your life is influenced by the opinions of others? The Stoics challenge us to ask, whose voice matters most, yours or the crowd's? In a world dominated by external validation, we often find ourselves seeking approval, tailoring our actions to fit societal expectations, or hesitating to speak our truth for fear of judgment. The Stoics, however, offer a liberating perspective. The opinions of others are merely echoes. Your voice is the origin of truth. Do you find yourself constantly seeking validation from others, likes on social media, praise at work, or the approval of family and friends? The Stoics remind us that true worth is not determined by external praise or criticism, but by your own sense of integrity and self-respect. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Think about that. How often do you allow the opinions of others to dictate your choices, even when they don't align with your values? The Stoics teach that independence of thought is essential to living an authentic life. When we constantly bend to the expectations of others, we sacrifice a part of ourselves. This doesn't mean ignoring feedback or advice, but it does mean prioritizing your own judgment above the fleeting opinions of the crowd. Have you ever allowed the fear of judgment to silence your truth or dim your light? Perhaps you've hesitated to pursue a passion, take a bold step, or stand firm in your beliefs because of what others might think. The Stoics remind us that living with integrity requires courage, the courage to follow your own path, even when it is unpopular. By standing firm in your convictions, you cultivate a life of purpose and meaning. Seneca once said, "You will be happy when you cease to care about what others think of you." But how do we reach that point? The answer lies in building self-trust. Do you trust yourself enough to rely on your own judgment? Trust grows when you consistently act in alignment with your values, regardless of external noise. It means believing that you are enough as you are, without needing constant reassurance from the outside world. Imagine the freedom of living untethered to the opinions of others. What might you achieve if you no longer sought validation from the crowd? Independence of thought allows us to chart our own course, free from the constraints of societal expectations. But achieving this independence requires practice. Start small, set boundaries. When someone's opinion doesn't align with your values, remind yourself that their perspective is not your reality. Reflect on your principles. Regularly ask yourself, what truly matters to me? Use this as your compass for decision-making. Celebrate your choices. Acknowledge and appreciate the times you've made decisions based on your own judgment, even if others disagreed. Over time, you'll find that external noise grows quieter and your inner voice becomes louder and clearer. The Stoics also emphasize the power of self-reliance. Epictetus taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This mastery begins when we stop outsourcing our happiness to others and start looking within. Have you considered the weight you place on others' opinions? Do you let their praise inflate you, or their criticism deflate you? The Stoics urge us to remain steady, knowing that both approval and disapproval are fleeting. What matters most is your inner compass, your sense of right and wrong. By valuing your own judgment, you free yourself from the endless cycle of seeking approval. You begin to live authentically, making choices that honor your true self. What freedom might you experience when you stop letting others define your worth? What mountains could you move if you trusted in your own strength and wisdom? Independence of thought is not about arrogance or disregarding others. It's about discerning whose voice carries the most weight in your life and ensuring that it's your own. By valuing your judgment over fleeting opinions, you create a life grounded in integrity, resilience, and peace. So the next time you feel the pull to seek validation, pause and ask yourself, am I living for them or for me? Number 2, gratitude and contentment. Have you ever stopped to consider how often we chase happiness, only to overlook the blessings already present in our lives? The Stoics teach us that true contentment doesn't come from having more, but from appreciating what we already have. In a world where society pushes us to constantly want the next big thing, a better job, a bigger house, a new gadget, it's easy to fall into the trap of dissatisfaction. But the Stoics remind us of a profound truth. Happiness isn't found in external possessions, but in our ability to recognize when we have enough. Epictetus said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." How often do we pause to rejoice for what we already possess? The power of gratitude. Gratitude is a lens through which we can see the richness of life. Do you focus on what's missing, or do you celebrate the abundance already present in your world? The Stoics teach that practicing gratitude shifts our perspective from lack to abundance. Think about your day, the warm sunlight streaming through your window, the meal that nourished your body, the loved one who checked in on you. Each of these moments is a gift. Yet how often do we take them for granted, consumed instead by thoughts of what we don't have? By cultivating gratitude, we begin to notice the small joys that make life meaningful. Have you ever stopped to reflect on the simple pleasures that enrich your life? Gratitude in practice. Practicing gratitude doesn't mean ignoring life's challenges. It's about finding beauty and blessings, even amid difficulty. Here are ways to incorporate gratitude into your daily life. Daily reflection. Each night, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be monumental. Sometimes the smallest joys carry the most meaning. Reframe challenges. When facing adversity, ask yourself, what lesson or opportunity might this bring? Gratitude can help us see struggles as stepping stones. Express thanks. Take a moment to thank someone who has positively impacted your life. A kind word or gesture can deepen your connection to others and amplify your own sense of gratitude. By making gratitude a daily habit, you transform your outlook, opening yourself to the abundance already surrounding you. Contentment. The art of enough. Contentment, the Stoics tell us, is the realization that what we have is sufficient. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." Do you find yourself chasing the next achievement, thinking it will bring you peace? The truth is, no amount of external success can satisfy a restless mind. Contentment isn't about settling, It's about recognizing that fulfillment doesn't depend on what you own or achieve. It stems from within. Imagine what life might feel like if you stopped yearning for more and started appreciating what you already have. The illusion of comparison. One of the greatest barriers to gratitude and contentment is comparison. Have you ever scrolled through social media only to feel inadequate because someone else seems to have more? The Stoics caution us against this trap. Epictetus reminds us, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The pursuit of keeping up is a never-ending cycle that leads to dissatisfaction. Instead, focus on your own journey and celebrate your unique blessings. The joy of simplicity. The Stoics found contentment in simplicity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." What if you simplified your life, not by removing possessions, but by removing the desire for excess? By appreciating life's essentials, a roof over your head, food to eat, meaningful relationships, you create space for deeper satisfaction. Gratitude for life's imperfections. Gratitude doesn't require perfection. In fact, it thrives when we learn to embrace life as it is. Have you ever considered being grateful not just for the good, but also for the challenges? The Stoics believed that adversity builds character. Instead of lamenting difficulties, they asked, "What can I learn from this?" By finding gratitude even in hardship, we transform pain into purpose. The ripple effect of gratitude. Gratitude doesn't just impact you, it influences the people around you. Imagine the warmth and positivity you bring to others when you radiate appreciation. By expressing thanks and celebrating life's blessings, you inspire those around you to do the same. Final reflection. Have you taken a moment today to pause and appreciate what you already have? The Stoics remind us that contentment is not found in seeking more, but in valuing enough. By practicing gratitude and embracing contentment, you unlock a richer, more meaningful life. What wonders might unfold when you focus on abundance instead of lack? What peace might you discover when you let go of endless striving and simply be? The journey to gratitude begins now. Will you take the first step? Number 3, forgiveness and release. Have you ever felt the weight of anger or resentment pressing on your heart? The Stoics teach us that holding on to these emotions only binds us to the past, keeping us from living fully in the present. Forgiveness, they remind us, is not about excusing others. It's about freeing ourselves. Imagine carrying a heavy bag on your back. Each grudge, each unresolved conflict adds another stone. The journey becomes exhausting, the load unbearable. Forgiveness is the act of setting that bag down, of choosing lightness over burden. The true nature of forgiveness. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. It's not about condoning harmful actions or pretending that pain didn't happen. Instead, it's about releasing the emotional grip that hurtful experiences have on us. The Stoics believed that clinging to resentment hinders our growth and clouds our vision. Seneca said, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." Have you considered that the person most affected by your inability to forgive is you? When we hold on to grudges, we give power to those who have wronged us. By choosing forgiveness, we reclaim that power and create space for healing. The gift of letting go. Have you ever considered that forgiveness is not something you give to others, it's a gift you give yourself? When we let go of resentment, we liberate our spirit from the chains of the past. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to, and how is it serving me? Often the answer is that it isn't. It's simply adding pain to an already difficult situation. The Stoics remind us that by letting go of blame, we open ourselves to peace, forgiveness of others. The Stoics taught that human beings are imperfect and prone to mistakes. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize?" This doesn't mean ignoring wrongs, but understanding that we are all flawed and fallible. Have you ever wronged someone and wished for their forgiveness? Could you extend that same grace to others? Forgiving someone doesn't mean you must reconcile with them or allow them back into your life. It means choosing not to let their actions control your emotions. Forgiveness of self. Sometimes, the hardest person to forgive is ourselves. We replay mistakes, dwell on regrets, and punish ourselves for not being perfect. But the Stoics remind us that we are all works in progress. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." This includes personal growth. Have you forgiven yourself for past mistakes, or do you continue to carry guilt? Self-forgiveness requires us to see mistakes as opportunities for learning rather than as failures. By treating ourselves with compassion, we create an environment for growth and transformation. The process of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not always immediate. It's a process. Here are some steps inspired by Stoic principles to help you release resentment. Acknowledge the pain. Accept what happened and the emotions it caused. Suppressing feelings only prolongs suffering. Understand human nature. Recognize that mistakes and flaws are universal. The person who wronged you is, like you, imperfect. Focus on your growth. Ask yourself, how can this experience help me grow? Shifting your focus from the harm to the lesson can be transformative. Choose to let go. Decide that the past will not control your present. This choice is an act of self-liberation. The ripple effect of forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't just transform you, it impacts the people around you. By letting go of resentment, you radiate peace and understanding, encouraging others to do the same. Imagine how your relationships might improve if you approached them with compassion rather than judgment. What new possibilities could arise when you let go of old wounds? The peace of release. What peace might you find when you unburden your heart from the weight of resentment? The Stoics remind us that the past cannot be changed, but our response to it can shape our future. Forgiveness is not weakness, it's a strength that allows us to move forward. It's an acknowledgement that we have the power to choose peace over pain, healing over hurt. Final reflection. Have you been carrying grudges that weigh down your spirit? Have you held yourself captive to guilt or resentment? The Stoics invite us to release these burdens and embrace the freedom that forgiveness brings. What kind of life could you create if you let go of anger and embraced compassion for others and for yourself? The journey to forgiveness is not easy, but it is transformative. Will you take the first step toward release and healing? The time is now. Number 4, mindful action. Have you ever felt like life is just happening to you, a whirlwind of events dragging you along without direction? The Stoics believed that a meaningful life is not lived passively, but through intentional, mindful action. They remind us that each decision shapes the tapestry of our destiny. Imagine your life as a garden. Every choice you make is a seed planted in its soil. Will those seeds grow into a flourishing sanctuary, or will they wither from neglect? The key to cultivating a life of purpose lies in acting with mindfulness and intention. The power of deliberate choices. The Stoics teach us that we have little control over external events, but complete authority over our responses to them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Do you approach life with deliberate action, or do you react impulsively to whatever comes your way? Mindful action begins with pausing, taking a moment to reflect before responding. Each choice you make, no matter how small, contributes to the direction of your life. What principles guide your decisions? Are they aligned with your values, or are they shaped by fleeting emotions or the opinions of others? Living with intention. To live mindfully means to act with purpose, not simply to go through the motions. Have you ever found yourself completing a task on autopilot, only to realize later that it didn't truly serve your goals? The Stoics remind us to focus on what truly matters. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Time is our most precious resource, and mindful action ensures that we use it wisely. Consider your daily routine. Are you intentional with your time, or does it slip away unnoticed? Do your actions align with your long-term goals, or are they driven by immediate gratification? Living with intention requires regular self-reflection. Ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to create? Are my current actions moving me closer to that vision? Mindful decision-making. Mindful action also means recognizing the weight of each decision. The Stoics believed that deliberate, virtuous choices lead to a life of purpose. Before making a decision, pause and consider, is this aligned with my values? Will this bring me closer to the person I want to be? What are the potential consequences of this action? Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Acting mindfully ensures that your choices are intentional rather than impulsive. Mindful action in relationships. Our relationships are often shaped by how we choose to act within them. Are your interactions guided by mindfulness, or do you sometimes speak or act without thinking? The Stoics remind us to approach others with kindness, understanding, and patience. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Mindful action in relationships means listening deeply, responding thoughtfully, and treating others as you wish to be treated. What transformations might occur in your connections if you approach them with greater intention? Responding to challenges. Life's challenges often test our ability to act mindfully. When faced with difficulty, do you react impulsively, or do you pause to consider the best course of action? The Stoics teach that every obstacle is an opportunity to practice virtue. Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." When a challenge arises, ask yourself, what is within my control here? How can I act in a way that reflects patience, courage, and wisdom? Mindful action allows us to navigate even the toughest situations with grace. Mindfulness in daily life. Mindful action isn't reserved for big, life-changing decisions. It's woven into the fabric of everyday moments. When eating, are you present, savoring each bite, or are you distracted by a screen? When working, are you fully engaged, or are you rushing to finish without giving your best effort? The Stoics remind us that how we do anything is how we do everything. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Pay attention to what's in front of you, the principle, the task, or what's being done." By bringing mindfulness to each task, no matter how small, we elevate the quality of our actions and our lives. The ripple effect of mindful action. Mindful actions don't just impact your life, they influence the world around you. When you act with intention, you inspire others to do the same. Imagine the ripple effect of thoughtful, purposeful decisions. A kind word to a stranger can brighten their day and inspire them to pay it forward. A moment of patience in conflict can prevent unnecessary harm and strengthen a relationship. What kind of legacy might you leave behind if every action reflected your highest values? The clarity of presence. Mindful action is rooted in the present moment. Do you dwell on the past or worry about the future, missing the opportunities right in front of you? The Stoics teach that life unfolds in the now. By focusing on the present, we gain clarity and the ability to act with precision. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." What possibilities might open up if you fully embraced each moment, acting with intention and purpose? Final reflection. Are you living your life mindfully, or are you letting it pass by on autopilot? The Stoics remind us that each choice is a brushstroke on the canvas of our destiny. By acting with mindfulness and intention, you create a life of meaning and purpose. What greatness might you achieve if you approached every moment with clarity and deliberate action? The journey to mindful action begins now. Will you take the first step? Number 5. Service and legacy. Have you ever wondered what kind of impact your life will leave behind? The Stoics teach us that while our time here is fleeting, the ripples of our actions can echo far beyond our years. Service to others, they remind us, is not just an act of kindness. It is the cornerstone of a meaningful legacy. Seneca wrote, "He who does good to another does good also to himself." By contributing to the greater good, we elevate not only the lives of others, but also our own. The question is, how will you use your time and talents to make a difference? The power of service. The Stoics believed that human beings are interconnected and our purpose lies in helping one another. Marcus Aurelius said, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings no benefit to the bee." Have you found ways to use your unique gifts in service of others? Service doesn't have to be grand or public. It can be as simple as offering a helping hand, sharing knowledge, or brightening someone's day with a kind word. The impact of service is often greater than we imagine. A single act of kindness can create a ripple effect, touching lives in ways we may never see. Service in everyday life. Many people think of service as something extraordinary, but the truth is, opportunities for service exist in our daily lives. Helping a colleague who is struggling with a task, volunteering your time for a community cause, simply listening when someone needs to be heard. Each of these acts may seem small, but together they form the fabric of a life lived for others. The Stoics teach us that consistent, meaningful actions are what create true change. Aligning service with values. Have you ever thought about how your personal values can guide your service? The Stoics emphasized living a life of virtue, and service is a natural extension of this. Virtues like kindness, justice, and generosity become real when we put them into action. Ask yourself, what causes resonate deeply with me? How can I contribute to those causes with my time, skills, or resources? What small actions can I take today to help others? By aligning your service with your values, you ensure that your actions are both meaningful and sustainable. The legacy of contribution. Legacy is not about fame or recognition. It's about the lasting impact of your actions. The Stoics remind us that our deeds, not our words or possessions, are what endure. Epictetus taught, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." Your legacy is written in how you treat others, how you rise to challenges, and how you contribute to the world around you. Consider the story of a tree. It grows silently, providing shade, oxygen, and nourishment. Long after it falls, its influence continues through the life it supported, the seeds it spread, and the shelter it gave. In the same way, your legacy is built through quiet, consistent acts of service. Service and personal growth. The Stoics believed that service isn't just for others, it also transforms us. When we give without expecting anything in return, we cultivate humility, gratitude, and a sense of purpose. Seneca wrote, "No man can live happily who has regard for himself alone and transforms everything into a question of his own utility." Have you noticed how helping others often brings you a sense of fulfillment and joy? By stepping outside of ourselves, we grow into better versions of who we are. Service teaches us empathy and reminds us of our shared humanity. The ripple effect of service. Imagine the impact of your actions extending beyond what you can see. A simple gesture of kindness can inspire others to do the same, creating a chain reaction of positivity and change. Think about the teachers, mentors, or friends who have shaped your life. Their service to you has likely influenced your journey in ways you may not fully comprehend. Now, imagine becoming that person for someone else. Living beyond yourself. Have you ever asked yourself, am I living only for myself, or am I contributing to something greater? The Stoics encourage us to look beyond personal gain and consider how our lives can benefit the world around us. Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's true delight is to do the things he was made for." The Stoics believed that we are made to contribute to the collective good. What unique abilities or resources do you have that could uplift others? Service as a legacy. Legacy isn't about monuments or accolades. It's about the lives we touch. What mark will you leave on the hearts of those you encounter? Think about the legacy of a parent who instills values in their child, a friend who provides unwavering support, or a stranger who offers unexpected kindness. Each of these acts creates ripples that extend far into the future. Final reflection. Have you considered what kind of legacy you want to leave behind? Will your life be remembered for its positive impact on others? The Stoics teach us that true fulfillment lies in serving others and contributing to the greater good. By living a life of mindful service, we not only enrich the world, but also ensure that our time here is spent meaningfully. So, what will you give, and what will you leave behind? The time to shape your legacy begins now. Will you rise to the challenge of living for more than yourself? Number 6. Resilience and adaptability. Have you ever faced a moment when life didn't go as planned? When everything seemed to crumble, and you were left wondering how to move forward? The Stoics teach us that resilience, the ability to rise after a fall, is one of life's most essential skills. But resilience isn't just about enduring hardship, it's about adapting to change and finding strength in uncertainty. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Life is unpredictable, full of challenges and twists we cannot control. The Stoics remind us that while we cannot change external events, we can always control how we respond. The essence of resilience. Resilience begins with mindset. Have you ever thought about how you perceive obstacles? Do you see them as roadblocks or as opportunities to grow stronger? The Stoics teach that adversity is not our enemy, it is our greatest teacher. Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." Just as muscles grow through resistance, our character develops through challenges. When you face hardship, ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? How can I emerge stronger on the other side? By viewing difficulties as stepping stones, you transform pain into progress. Adaptability. The key to thriving resilience alone isn't enough. We must also adapt to life's ever-changing circumstances. Imagine water flowing around a rock in its path. It doesn't resist the obstacle. It adjusts and continues its journey. The Stoics encourage us to be like water, flexible, persistent, and resourceful. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Adapting doesn't mean giving up your values or goals. It means finding new ways to pursue them when the old ways no longer work. Have you ever experienced a situation where a change in perspective or approach opened a door you didn't know existed? Facing challenges with courage. Resilience requires courage, the willingness to face difficulty head-on instead of running from it. The Stoics believed that challenges are unavoidable, but our reaction to them is a choice. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." What if the very thing you see as an obstacle is actually the path forward? When life feels overwhelming, pause and ask yourself, what is within my control right now? How can I take one small step forward? Breaking challenges into manageable pieces makes them less intimidating and more actionable. Building inner strength resilience is not something we're born with. It's something we build through practice. Have you nurtured the inner strength needed to withstand life's storms? Here are ways to cultivate resilience. Develop a growth mindset. Embrace failure as a learning opportunity rather than a defeat. Focus on the present. Dwelling on the past or worrying about the future drains your energy. Anchor yourself in the here and now. Strengthen your support system. Surround yourself with people who uplift and encourage you. Resilience doesn't mean going it alone. Take care of yourself. Physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being are the foundation of strength. By building these habits, you create a reservoir of resilience to draw from when challenges arise. The role of perspective. Have you noticed how your outlook can change the way you experience hardship? The Stoics remind us that perception is everything. By shifting your perspective, you can turn setbacks into stepping stones. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." The hardships we face shape us, polishing our character and revealing our inner strength. What if every difficulty you encounter is refining you for something greater? The power of acceptance. A key aspect of resilience is accepting what we cannot control. The Stoics believed that resistance to reality causes unnecessary suffering. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." Have you ever spent energy fighting something you couldn't change? What would happen if instead you chose to focus on what you could do within your sphere of control? Acceptance is not giving up. It's choosing to move forward despite the circumstances. Adapting to change is the only constant in life, yet many of us resist it. Have you found yourself clinging to the past or fearing the unknown? The Stoics remind us that adaptability is strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change, and accustom yourself to consider that the nature of the universe loves nothing so much as to change the things that are." Instead of resisting change, embrace it as an opportunity for growth. What new possibilities might arise when you let go of the past and trust the flow of life? Resilience as a lifelong journey. Resilience and adaptability are not destinations, they are ongoing practices. Life will always bring new challenges, but each one is an opportunity to strengthen your inner resolve. Imagine what you might achieve if you viewed every obstacle as a chance to grow. How would your life change if you adapted to uncertainty with grace and courage? Final reflection. Resilience is the ability to rise after a fall. Adaptability is the willingness to adjust and thrive in a changing world. Together, they form the foundation of a life well lived. The Stoics remind us that hardship is not a curse, but a catalyst for transformation. What might you achieve if you embraced every difficulty as an opportunity to grow stronger? The journey to resilience and adaptability begins with a single choice: to face life with courage and flexibility. Will you rise to the challenge? The time to begin is now. Number 7. Presence and mindfulness. Have you ever found yourself so consumed by thoughts of the past or worries about the future that you missed what was happening right in front of you? The Stoics believed that life's greatest joys and deepest wisdom can only be found in the present moment. Epictetus said, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" That best is available to us not tomorrow, not yesterday, but right now. Yet how often do we let the present slip away unnoticed? The power of being present. Life unfolds in the here and now. The past is unchangeable and the future is uncertain. The Stoics teach us that mindfulness, being fully engaged in the present moment, is the key to experiencing life in its fullness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." But how do we do this in a world filled with distractions and endless demands on our attention? Start by asking yourself, am I fully here, or is my mind elsewhere? Am I savoring this moment, or am I rushing through it to get to the next? Mindfulness means bringing your focus back to what is directly in front of you, no matter how small or ordinary it may seem. Breaking free from the past and future. Have you ever spent hours replaying past mistakes or worrying about what's to come? The Stoics remind us that both are beyond our control. The past is gone and the future is unknowable. Seneca said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." Dwelling on the past or future robs us of the only time we truly have, the present. When you find your mind wandering to things you cannot change or predict, gently bring it back to the present moment. Ask yourself, what can I do right now to make the most of this moment? How can I focus on what is within my control today? Mindfulness in daily life. Mindfulness doesn't require grand gestures or hours of meditation. It's about finding presence in everyday moments. When eating, are you savoring the flavors, or are you distracted by a screen? When working, are you fully focused on the task, or are you rushing to finish without giving it your full attention? When with loved ones, are you truly listening, or are you preoccupied with other thoughts? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Pay attention to what's in front of you, the principle, the task, or what's being done." By giving your full attention to each task, no matter how small, you elevate the quality of your actions and your life. The calm in chaos. Life is rarely free from challenges or distractions. The Stoics teach that mindfulness can anchor us, even in the midst of chaos. When you feel overwhelmed, pause, take a deep breath. Bring your focus to the present moment. Ask yourself, what is the next right step? How can I act with intention rather than reaction? Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Mindfulness gives us the space to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Mindfulness and gratitude. Mindfulness naturally leads to gratitude. When we are present, we begin to notice the small joys we often overlook. The warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter, the comfort of a loved one's presence. Have you ever paused to truly appreciate these moments? The Stoics remind us that happiness isn't found in grand achievements, but in recognizing the beauty of life's simple pleasures. Try this. At the end of each day, reflect on one moment when you felt truly present. What made it special? How did it make you feel? Practical steps to cultivate presence. Start your day with intention. Begin each morning by setting a mindful intention. Ask yourself, what do I want to focus on today? Practice deep breathing. When you feel distracted or overwhelmed, pause and take a few deep breaths to ground yourself in the present. Create mindful rituals. Turn everyday tasks, making coffee, taking a walk, or tidying your space, into moments of mindfulness by giving them your full attention. Limit distractions. Identify and reduce habits that pull you out of the present, like excessive phone use or multitasking. The ripple effect of mindfulness. Mindfulness not only enhances your own life, but also transforms your interactions with others. Imagine how your relationships might improve if you were fully present during conversations, truly listening and engaging without distractions. By bringing mindfulness to your relationships, you strengthen bonds and deepen connections. The present as a gift. Have you ever thought of the present moment as a gift? The Stoics remind us that each moment is fleeting, never to return. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. What if you treated each day as an irreplaceable treasure? How might your life change if you approached each moment with the reverence it deserves?" Final reflection. Mindfulness is not about perfection, it's about presence. It's about fully embracing life as it unfolds, moment by moment. Are you ready to break free from the distractions of the past and future? Are you willing to savor the richness of the present and find joy in its simplicity? The journey to mindfulness begins now. Will you take the first step? Number 8. Self-compassion. Have you ever been your own harshest critic? Do you replay mistakes in your mind, judging yourself more harshly than you would ever judge another? The Stoics remind us that while self-discipline is essential, so too is self-compassion. Epictetus taught, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, growth requires vulnerability and patience with ourselves. The journey to self-improvement is long, and no one walks it perfectly. Self-compassion isn't weakness, it's the foundation for growth. Without it, we're trapped in cycles of guilt and self-blame that prevent us from moving forward. Embracing imperfection. The Stoics remind us that to be human is to be imperfect. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You're a soul carrying a corpse," as Epictetus used to say. This stark reminder of our mortality underscores the importance of accepting our flaws and striving for progress, not perfection. Have you allowed past mistakes to define you? The truth is, every misstep is a lesson in disguise. What if, instead of criticizing yourself, you chose to learn from those mistakes? Forgiving yourself. Self-compassion begins with forgiveness. Just as the Stoics encourage us to forgive others for their flaws, they also remind us to extend that same grace to ourselves. Ask yourself, have I been holding on to guilt for something I cannot change? What can I do today to release that burden? Seneca said, "What progress, you ask, have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself." Forgiving yourself is the first step in becoming your own ally rather than your worst critic. Balancing self-discipline with kindness. The Stoics valued self-discipline, but they never advocated for unnecessary harshness. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to be strict with yourself, but tolerant with others. Yet even he understood the importance of tempering self-criticism with understanding. Discipline is vital for growth, but it should never come at the expense of kindness toward yourself. Have you been pushing yourself too hard without pausing to acknowledge your efforts? Imagine treating yourself as you would a close friend. When they stumble, you offer encouragement, not condemnation. Why not extend that same compassion inward? Turning setbacks into stepping stones. Every failure carries the seed of growth. Have you ever considered that your mistakes are not evidence of your shortcomings but opportunities to learn? Epictetus taught, "Difficulties show a person's character." How we respond to setbacks defines us. not the setbacks themselves. Instead of berating yourself for missteps, ask, what can I take from this experience? How can I use this lesson to improve in the future? By shifting your perspective, you transform failures into stepping stones for success. The practice of self-compassion. Self-compassion is a skill that grows with practice. Here are ways to cultivate it in your daily life. Acknowledge your humanity. Remind yourself that no one is perfect, and mistakes are part of growth. Pause and reflect. When you catch yourself in self-criticism, stop and ask, would I say this to someone I care about? Celebrate small wins. Focus on what you've done well, no matter how small, instead of fixating on perceived failures. Create space for growth. Give yourself permission to try, fail, and try again without judgment. The ripple effect of self-compassion. Self-compassion not only benefits you but also those around you. When you treat yourself with kindness, you become more understanding and empathetic toward others. Imagine the impact on your relationships if you approached others with the same grace you offer yourself. What bonds could you strengthen? What conflicts might you resolve? Self-compassion and inner peace. The Stoics believed that peace comes from within. Self-compassion quiets the inner critic and creates space for clarity and growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By offering yourself compassion, you create a solid foundation for resilience, courage, and confidence. Final reflection. Have you been too hard on yourself, expecting perfection in an imperfect world? The Stoics remind us that growth comes from understanding and accepting our humanity, not denying it. What would happen if you chose to be your own greatest supporter rather than your harshest critic? How might your life change if you replaced self-judgment with self-compassion? The journey to self-compassion begins now. Will you take the first step and offer yourself the kindness you deserve? Number 9. Courage and action. Have you ever hesitated when faced with a challenge, doubting whether you had the strength to act? Courage, the Stoics remind us, is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward despite it. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Courage is about aligning your actions with your values, even when the path ahead feels uncertain or difficult. The nature of courage. The Stoics teach us that courage is the foundation of all other virtues. Without it, we cannot be just, wise, or temperate, because fear will hold us back from living in alignment with our principles. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This reminder of life's brevity calls us to act with purpose and bravery, knowing that our time is limited. Have you ever delayed taking action because of fear? Fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown? The Stoics challenge us to see fear not as a barrier, but as an opportunity to demonstrate courage. Courage in the face of fear. Fear is natural. It's our mind's way of warning us about potential danger. But the Stoics believed that most fears are exaggerated or misplaced. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Think about a time when fear held you back. Was the outcome as bad as you imagined? More often than not, the fear of an event is worse than the event itself. The Stoics advise us to confront fear head-on by asking, what is the worst that could happen? How would I handle it if it did? By breaking fear into its components, we strip it of its power. Taking the first step. Courage begins with a single step. Often the hardest part of any journey is starting. Have you been putting off something important because it feels overwhelming? Epictetus taught, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" Waiting for the perfect moment or total confidence is a trap. The only way to build courage is to act, even when you feel uncertain. Start small, make that phone call, share your idea, take one step toward your goal. Each action, no matter how small, builds momentum and strengthens your resolve. Courage and integrity. True courage is not reckless. It is rooted in integrity. The Stoics teach us to act with purpose, ensuring our decisions align with our values. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Have you ever faced a situation where doing the right thing was the harder choice? Courage means standing by your principles, even when it costs you. It's about having the strength to say no to what's wrong and yes to what's right. Resilience through action. Courage isn't just about bold, heroic acts. It's also about resilience in the face of setbacks. Have you ever tried and failed, only to feel discouraged? The Stoics remind us that failure is not the opposite of success, but a stepping stone toward it. Seneca said, "It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness." Every failure is an opportunity to learn, adapt, and grow stronger. The only true failure is refusing to act at all. Courage in daily life. Courage is not limited to grand gestures. It's woven into the fabric of daily life. Speaking up for what you believe in, apologizing when you've made a mistake, choosing to start over after a setback. Each of these moments requires bravery, and each strengthens your character. The ripple effect of courage. Courage is contagious. When you act bravely, you inspire those around you to do the same. Think about someone whose courage has influenced you, a mentor, a friend, or even a historical figure. Their actions likely gave you the confidence to face your own fears. What kind of example could you set by choosing courage in your own life? How might your bravery empower others to act? Overcoming the fear of judgment. One of the greatest fears we face is the fear of what others will think. Have you ever held back because you worried about being judged or misunderstood? The Stoics remind us that the opinions of others are beyond our control and ultimately unimportant. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." By focusing on what truly matters, your values, goals, and principles, you free yourself from the paralysis of judgment. Practical steps to build courage. Define your values. Know what you stand for. Courage is easier when you're clear about your principles. Start small. Take small, manageable risks to build your confidence over time. Reframe fear. View fear as a sign that you're stepping out of your comfort zone and into growth. Practice resilience. Embrace setbacks as part of the journey and use them as opportunities to learn. Celebrate wins. Acknowledge each act of bravery, no matter how small, to reinforce your progress. The legacy of courage. The Stoics believed that courage leaves a lasting impact, both on ourselves and the world around us. What kind of legacy might you create by acting with bravery and integrity? Imagine a life where fear no longer holds you back, a life where you consistently align your actions with your values, even in the face of uncertainty. What might you achieve? Who might you inspire? Final reflection. Courage is not a trait reserved for the extraordinary. It is a practice available to all of us. The Stoics teach that the path to greatness lies in daring to act, even when fear whispers that you cannot. Have you been waiting for the perfect moment to begin? The truth is, the perfect moment doesn't exist. The time for courage is now. Will you take the first step and act with bravery, purpose, and integrity? The choice is yours.